Good day, ladies and gents. Today we're going to continue doing our EOC review. We're doing Unit 8 and Unit 9. So we're going to start with page 23 and 25, and then whatever time we have left, we'll do 24, 26, and 27, which are not as important, but they are still awesome. All right, so make sure that you have out your hot topics, which would be Unit 8, Unit 9, and if you're struggling a little bit with some stuff, you might need Unit 1, which is talking about how to find distance. So you might need to know that too. All right, sweet. Let's get going. All right, so number 1, so we're starting on page 23. We're starting on page 23, and here we go. Determine the area of the trapezoid. All right, so using your hot topics, trapezoid is the average of the bases times the height, and the bases are what's ever parallel, so you might have to rotate your paper. So if it looks like this, see how those two are parallel? You just have to turn your paper, and now those two are the bases. Add them together, divide by 2, and then multiply by the height. Or you could go use this equation, but this one's safer. So, all right, let's get this going. So what are the two bases? That would be this and this. So area equals 1/2. So, sorry, base 1 plus base 2 all over 2, and then multiply that by the height. All right, so we have 16 plus 26, all that over 2, and then what was the height? The height was 14. So in your calculator, make sure you add the top all by itself first. So we have 16 plus the 26, so we have 42 divided by 2, and then multiply by 14. And then 42 divided by 2, we get 21 times 14. And double check, is 21 smack dab in between 16 and 26? It is, so I feel good about that. Multiply by 14, and your answer is 294. Now, be careful with this because a lot of people do this incorrectly. The main reason is this. This is what I'm talking about. So a lot of people do 16 plus 26 and then divide by 2 in one big shot. And that's wrong. Is 29 smack dab in between 16 and 26? No. What happened? Well, you only divided the 26 and not the whole thing. So what you're supposed to do is parentheses 16 plus 26. So you do that and then divide by 2. So you see the difference, and 21 is smack dab in between those two. So the difference was these, that you're only divided by 26 here, which is incorrect. You're supposed to do the top all by itself first, then divide by 2, and just double check that that is smack dab in the middle. And that was the answer. You just have to write that down in there. Okay, sweet. All right, number 2. All right, so number 2, in the diagram below, a cone is cut by a plane that passes through a vertex and is perpendicular to the base. The height of the cone, all right, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just going through the motions of labeling everything. The height of the cone is 12, and the diameter is 9. So if the diameter is 9, and then the radius would have to be 4.5 because I just divided by 2, right? What is the area of the cross section? Okay, so the cross section, if I cut this, dipped it in paint, and stamped my paper, what shape would it make? It would make a triangle. And they want the area of this. So to get the area, so we know that the height of that triangle would be 12, right? What would be the distance all the way across? So all the way across that triangle would be like the diameter of that circle. What's the diameter of that circle? Would be 9. So all the way across that triangle would be 9. Awesome. So what is the area of a triangle? So the area of a triangle, if you look at your notes, that is 1/2 base times height, and the base and the height always have to be at right angles to each other. So that is area equals 1/2 base times height. And then you just take that information, plug it in there, and it's your job to finish that off. All right, sweet. All right, then number 3. All right, so on number 3, to create a horse farm, fencing is needed to be placed around 3 specific points on the plot of land located at these 3 points. What is the total amount of fencing needed to create the enclosure? All right, so we're basically going to have a triangle, and we want to know how much fencing that is. So what is that asking for? Is that area, perimeter? What are we looking for? So we want to know how much fence we have. So that would mean perimeter. So we're looking for the perimeter of this. All right, so we're going to plot those points. So I'll zoom in here. All right, so we're at -2, +5. Boom. Okay, so right there. And then we're at -2, -2. And we're at +6, -2. So then we take our straight edge, connect the dots. Awesome. Okay, so we're looking for that perimeter. So we have to find this distance, and that distance all by themselves. All right, so this distance right here, just count the hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 hops. Count these hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And remember, while you're hopping, if you have to blink, pause in your hopping, blink, then start hopping again. The reason is because while I'm hopping, if I blink, sometimes you'll shift over like 2 hops, or you'll go up or down. Like just pause in your hopping. And then this right here, this diagonal, in order to find any diagonal distances, you basically have to make a right triangle. Okay, and we're going to do Pythagorean theorem. All right, so this right here, this is 8 hops, this is 7 hops. So how are we going to find that distance? So that would be 8 squared plus 7 squared is equal to x squared. So if you put that in the calculator, 8 squared plus 7 squared, you would get 113 is equal to x squared. Write it over again, square root it, and we just leave it the square root of 113 is equal to the square root and the square cross out, and it's just x. So this distance right here is the square root of 113. And we want the perimeter. So what we're going to do is just add all those together. So we're going to have 7 plus 8 plus the square root of 113. All right, let's put that in the calculator. So 7 plus 8 plus the square root. And how did I do that? For the square root, here's the square root button right there. And to get to the yellow stuff, I have to push the yellow button first, right? So 7 plus 8 plus the square root, so shift square root of 113. And we get this number. Okay, and then what if you had this calculator? All right, so how would you do that one? All right, in order to do this calculator, you would have to do now the square root of 113. So let's do something you actually know, like 25 square rooted. If you square root and then push to 25, it's not going to work. You have to do, in this calculator, you have to do 25, then square root it, and then there you go. Okay, so in this case, you would have to do 113 square rooted, then add the 7, add the 8 equals, and you got the same number. So there's the same number, and they said to round to nearest hundredth. So if you round to nearest hundredth, are we staying at 0.63 or are we going up to 0.64? We would stay at 0.63 because the 0 didn't make it over the hill. All right, sweet. All right, and you would just write that down for yourself. All right, let's go ahead. Number 8. Number 3. Okay, on this one, you are cutting out patterns to create a banner for a birthday party. Each triangle is 13 inches in height. So we have this triangle. The height is 13, and the base is 7. Okay, go find that area, right? So of one triangle, so find the area. So area equals 1/2 base times height. Just plug those things in. And then you're good to go. So I'll let you guys finish that one. All right, next. Okay, number 4. A gravel walkway is being built around a fountain of a park. The fountain will have a circular base of a radius of 5.7. So there's the fountain, and the circular base is 5.7. Yep. And a diagram of the fountain of the gravel walkway is shown below. Find the area of the gravel walkway there. So we're looking for the gravel walkway, and they even pointed it out. So we're looking for this. So if you look at your hot topics, nice little reminder of how to do everything. Okay, so basically we're looking for that shaded region. So you find the big shape and you subtract any of the white spots. All right, so I'm going to zoom in. All right, so we need to find the big circle and subtract the white spots. Okay, so the big circle, what's the radius and the diameter? So on the big circle, from the center to the edge would be 8, and that's the radius. So then the diameter would have to be 16. And on the little circle, radius and diameter, the radius from the center to the edge of the little circle is 5.7. And just in case, 5.7 times 2, that would be 11.4 for the diameter. We may not need that, but we're safe no matter what they give to us. All right, we need to find the two areas. So pi r squared. So that's pi 8 squared. So we put that in the calculator. So that is 3.14 times 8 squared. And we get 200.96. And over here, and notice we're not rounding yet. While we're doing our work, we're going to show all of the decimals. So we do not round until we're presenting our final answer. All right, over here, that is pi r squared. That is pi 5.7 squared. And notice that when I do decimals, I always make them like really dark. So that's usually helpful. All right, 3.14 times 5.7 squared. And we get 102.0186. Now, what are we going to do with those two numbers? Subtract them. So 200.96, notice we didn't round, minus 102.0186. So I subtract those two, and I get this number. Okay, now you round. And they said to round to nearest tenth. So take this decimal, round it to nearest tenth, type that in there. Okay, and it's your job to finish that up. Excellent. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to skip page 24 for now. We're going to skip page 24 and we're going to go ahead and go straight to page 25. We're going straight to page 25. So we're on page 25 now. All right. So now we're going to be doing volume. So this is unit 9 stuff. So we're on unit 9 things now. We just finished unit 8. Houston's Soup Company is experimenting with cans for their family-sized meals. The two cans are shown below. So we have these two cans. Awesome. And they said which has a greater volume. So we have to go find the two volumes. All right. So what do we need for the volume of a cylinder? So here's a cylinder. And for a cylinder, now we know that the volume is base area times the height, and you always replace the base, and you always replace the base area, and you always replace the perimeter, the base perimeter. All right, so on this one, the base area times the height. Now the base, what shape is the base? A circle. What's the area of a circle? That's pi r squared. So you see how we replace the capital B with whatever area we're talking about? That'd be pi r squared. All right, so here we go. So what are all the things we know? Radius and diameter and the height. So they gave us this, which is the diameter. That's 6. So what would be the radius? It would be half of that, which is 3. And what was the height of the shape? I think on my picture it got cut off. So on your picture, it's 6. Just double checking. So that's 6. All right, so our height is also 6. And then over here, radius, diameter, and the 3D height. So the diameter is 4.5. Divide that by 2. 4.5, divide that by 2, and we got 2.25 is my radius. Notice I made my decimal nice and thick, just really dark. That way I can actually tell it's existing. And then the height is 8. So we should have everything we need. So for A, we want the volume, which is base area times the height. So B times H. Now B we're going to replace. What is the base? That is a circle, so that's pi r squared is the base area, and then times the height. And now you just have to plug it in. So pi 3 squared times, what was the height? 6. Excellent. And just type that in your calculator. So we have 3.14 times 3 squared times 6. I put that in the calculator, and I get 169.56. Okay, over here, B. Do the same thing. Volume equals base area times the height. We replace the capital B with pi r squared. So the base area, it is what shape is base? A circle. So it's circle area times the height. Circle area is pi r squared. Sweet. So it's pi, and in this case, we have 2.25 squared, and then times the height, which is 8. All right, put that in the calculator. We have 3.14 times 2.25 squared times 8. We get this number, 127.17. Okay, now we should be able to answer all the questions. All right, so looking at this, which one has the greater? Is it A or B? Which one's bigger? So you can answer that one. How much greater? So if they're asking for how much greater, so let's say if I said that I had $10, I'm just doing an example real quick. So if one person had $10 and the other person had $6, how much more does one person have than the other? And you would say $4. So how did you get that? You subtract those two numbers, right? So just apply the same thing to this. And they said to round to nearest cubic inch, which means what? And that means whole number. So round to nearest whole number. Okay, approximately how many times larger? So times, what's the opposite of times? So you're going to have to divide the two numbers. And they said to give me to nearest hundredths. So you're in charge of finishing both of those. Awesome. All right, number 2. All right, so number 2, Adrian just bought an aquarium to put the goldfish in. The measurements of the aquarium are shown below. The height of the water is 12.75. All right, so that's the water height. And then to accommodate for all the minnows, Adrian needs to fill the aquarium with a height of water of 25.74. Okay, to the nearest cubic inch, how much more water does he need to add? All right, so basically, we don't care about the 28.75. We don't care about that height. That's just the height of the tank. So what we have now, no matter what, the base will always be the same. So 35.25 by 46. And the height of the water that we want is 25.74. And on the what we have at this second, just putting this in here, what we have is the height of 12.75. So what you need to do is find these two volumes and then subtract. So I'll start you off on the first one. So volume E is the base area times the 3D height, right? So in this case, what shape is the base? The base is this rectangle. So that would be length times width. So we're basically just doing length times width times height. So let's put those numbers in. So length times width times height. So we would do 35.25 times 46 times the 25.74. And we get this big long decimal, or this big number, 4173.7.41. And then you do the same thing on the other side here. So volume is base area times the 3D height. That is length times width times height, basically. You just have to plug those things in. And what do you do with those two numbers? You're going to subtract those two numbers, then round. So we don't round until while we're doing all of our work. When we're doing all of our work, we show all of the decimals, then you round. Simple as that. And then that's your job to finish that off. Sweet. All right. Number 3. All right. So number 3, a diagram of water tower is shown below. What is the shape modeled by the water tank at the top of the tower? Find the approximate volume of the water. Okay, so the water is just in here. So we actually don't care about this. So we really don't care that height. Now for volume, this is sphere, right? So for a sphere, the volume is 4/3 pi r cubed to the power of 3. A lot of people accidentally put to the power of square because you're used to pi r squared, but it's to the power of 3, so be very careful with that. So volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed because it's volume. And we've learned that from the SAV chart, side area volume. So side squared, side to the power 1 because it's in column 1, side to the power 2 because it's in column 2, and side to the power 3 because it's because you're in column 3. And it's the same idea here. Volume is to the power 3. Nice to know that, right? Okay, so over here, radius versus diameter. Now the diameter is 76. So then the radius divided by 2 would have to be 38. So all you have to do is plug that in here. 4/3 pi, and that's 38 cubed. Now let's practice how you would type that into the calculator. All right, so in this one, I'll zoom out a little bit here so you can see what I'm typing. Okay, so we're going to do parentheses 4 divided by 3. Then we're going to multiply by 3.14. And then we're going to multiply by, so you know how to put parentheses. So it's 38 to the power, and there's the power button right here, to the power of 3, close parentheses. Boom. And that's the answer. All right, so we have that big long decimal, right? All right, so 229,730.7733. Okay, and then now how do you do it on this other calculator? Well, on this calculator, I suggest you go backwards, right? So do the 38 cubed first. So how do you do that? You do 38, and the power button is up here. So to the power of 3 equals. And then multiply by 3.14, multiply by 4, divide by 3. And you get the same number. All right, that's one way how to do it. So using this button for the power. The other way is right here on the 1, above the 1 is the cube button. To get to the yellow stuff, you have to push the yellow button first. So the other way to do this is 38, and then second, and then you cube it. You still got that same number. And then you multiply by 3.14, multiply by 4, divide by 3. And notice that we got the same numbers. Okay, so now let's make sure we answer the questions. So what shape is modeled by the tank? So what was that? A sphere, so you just write that there. Approximately, what was the volume? And they said to round to nearest foot. So that means that they want a whole number. So round that to nearest whole number. So are we staying at blah, 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 30, or are we going up to blah, 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 31? So that's your, and that decision is made by this number. Did that make it over the hill? And by hill, I mean this. 30. Are we staying there, or are we going 31? So that's the question. So the 7, did that make it over the hill? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 7 is over the hill, so it'd go to the whatever 3, 1. So there you go. All right, so you should be able to type that in there. All right, next. All right, number 4, find the volume. All right, volume. Now this is a pyramid, right? Which is 1/3 base area times the height. And you always replace the capital B. What shape was the base? Square, rectangle, whatever. So in this case, it's a rectangle. So it's 1/3. That would be length times width. And then times the 3D height. So it's 1/3 length times width times height. So all you have to do now is just plug those things in, and you'll be able to finish that off. Excellent. All right, moving on up. Okay, so we're going on to the next page. Let's see. Let's go to page 24. We're on 24 now. All right, we're on page 24, and we're just going to do as much as we possibly can here. All right, so on page 24, Campbell's is designing a new label for their soup cans that covers the side of the can, right? So for this, where did I put that? Anyway, sorry, I was looking for my Hot Topics page. Just put somewhere weird. Oh, nope. Oh yeah, it's Unit 9. I was looking for Unit 10 by accident. All right, so for the soup can, right? So think of a soda can. So if I'm looking for the label, then that's lateral area. If I'm looking for the metal, so that's the side and the top and bottom, that's the surface area, and volume would just be all the liquid on the inside. So that gives you a nice idea of what I'm talking about. So we're talking about the label, which is really nice. The soup can has a height, so we're just going to draw this. So it has a height of 8. The radius is 2.5, so that means that the diameter would have to be 5. Determine how much material would need just for the label. So that's lateral area is perimeter of the base times the height. So we always replace the P. Now, what shape is the base? That is a circle, right? So what's the perimeter of a circle? Or in other words, a circumference, and that would be d pi times the height. And that also says it right here. So here's the cylinder. Lateral area is P times H. You replace the P with the perimeter of that base, which in this case would be d pi. Right. So now all I have to do is plug those things in, and you can answer that question. And they said nothing about rounding, so whatever you get your answer, that will be it. So no rounding, just whatever you get, type it right there. So that's number 1. Okay. And on number 2, so the box shown below, how many square inches of cardboard? So the cardboard is all on the outside, right? So the cardboard's all on the outside. So the best way to do this is actually separate this. So let's think this out. So we have the bottom, which is that rectangle, or in this case, a square. So that is a 6 by 6, right? Okay, and now let's do the sides. And there are 4 sides, and they're all rectangles, right? So, all right, so we have a 6 by 9. We have a 6 by 9. And the back would be the same things, right? 6 by 9 and 6 by 9 again. Okay, and then let's look at the top, which are 4 triangles. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the base of this triangle, so we'll do this one first, is 6, and the height of that triangle is also 6. And this is 6 by 6, so all these are the same. Awesome. Okay, so now all we have to do is find all those areas and add them together. So find each one of those areas, add them together. So that would be just length times width, right? Length times width, which is 6 times 6, which is 36. Over here, that's length times width, that's 6 times 9. So 6 times 9, and you get 54. And all these would be the exact same thing, right? Length times width. So 54, 54, and 54. Over here, this is 1/2 base times height. So that's 1/2 times 6 times 6, and you get 18. So all these are 18. And all you have to do now is just add all those sides together. So you found each one of those, add them all together, and that will be your final answer. So I'll give you guys a second. So if you need to pause that to finish copying that down, please do so now. All right, let's move on. Okay, number 3. John wants to decorate his porch that have 2 columns. All right, so the columns are cylinders, right? And there's 2 of them. Okay, so then Glidden's 1 gallon paint costs this much and has this many square feet. Sherwin-Williams 1 gallon paint costs this much and covers 158 feet. So given the columns are identical, they are 19 tall, so 19 on both of them. The diameter is 8, so that means the radius would have to be 4. Okay, how many cans of paint would you buy? All right, so we have to find how much space we need, correct? All right, so for 2 columns, so now are we going to be, so the question is it lateral area, surface area, or volume? So you're definitely not going to paint the bottom because that is on the ground, right? And you're definitely not painting the top because, well, it's holding up the ceiling. So we're only going to be painting the sides. So that's basically a label. So that's lateral area. So we need to find the lateral area, and that is perimeter of the base times the height. So that's d pi times h. So all you have to do now is plug it in. So that's 8 pi times 19. All right, put that in the calculator. So 8 times 3.14 times 19, and we get this number. We are not rounding. While you're doing your work, you don't round, right? All right, so we have this. And now here's the tricky part. There are 2 of them. So we're going to multiply by the 2 columns. So with that decimal still rocking, we're going to multiply by 2, and we get this number. So we need to paint 954.56. And remember, I always put the decimal nice and dark. Okay, so now we're going to compare the 2 paints. So if I use Glidden's, okay, so if I use Glidden's, what's going to happen? All right, so I need this much, right? So 954.56, I'm going to divide by 176. So with this decimal, we're going to divide, so 954.56 divide by 176. So that would give me 5.42 whatever, right? Okay, now, so are you allowed to purchase 5.42 cans? No. Now, when you're purchasing, you always round up. So when you're purchasing, you always have to round up. So you would buy 6 cans. So if you buy 6 cans, so you clear your calculator 6 times. How much do they cost? $25.97. So for 6 cans that cost this much, it would cost you $155.82. So it would cost that much. All right. Now, if I go further down, that's totally okay. I still have a bunch of space. Okay, now let's do the same thing for Sherwin-Williams. All right, so Sherwin. Okay, so here we go. So I ran out of space, so I'll put it down here, okay? All right, for Sherwin-Williams, we're just going to reset. So that'd be 954.56. We're going to divide by 158. So for every can, it covers this much. So we got to figure out how many cans we need. So clear, we got 954.56 divided by 158. So I would have 6.04 cans, right? So how many do you need to purchase? You need to always round up. So we need to buy 7 cans. So take those 7 cans, multiply by the cost, which is $22.68, I believe. Just double checking. Yep. So 22.68, and this would cost $158.76. Okay, so now that we have the costs, which one would you actually purchase from? Would you buy the $155 or would you pay the $158? So I would definitely do this one, right? Because it's about $3 cheaper. All right, and then it's just to answer the question. So how many cans of paint would you use? Right there. And how much would it cost? This right here. And that would be your answer. Sweet. Number 4. All right, so on number 4, the cylindrical tank shown in the diagram needs to be painted. The tank is open on the top, so we're not going to be painting the top, and it's sitting on the ground, so we're not going to paint the bottom either. So if you're not painting the top or the bottom, then this is going to be lateral area. Okay, and we're going to be doing 86%. So we're doing 86%. So that's very, very important. So I circle that, make sure that I take care of that later. Each can of paint is 600 square feet. How much cans of paint would you need to paint this? All right, so let's find the lateral area. So that's perimeter of the base times the height. That is d pi times h. So that would be so radius and diameter. If the radius is 12, then the diameter is 24. Zoom in a little bit here. So we would have 24 pi times your h, which would be 22. So all we have to do is type that in the calculator, right? So we have 24 times 3.14 times 22. And we get this number, 1657.92. Okay, so this is how much we're going to be using. Now, the percentage, that was 86%, right? That's the same thing as saying 0.86. So we're going to take the 1657.92 and we're going to multiply by the 86%. So we have this number, 1657.92, and we're going to multiply by 0.86. And we get this long number, 1425.8112. And now, so we took care of this one. We took care of the 86%. Now we have to take care of the 600 square feet because we want to know how much cans, right? So we're going to take that 1425.8112. We'll divide that by 600. So divide that by 600, and we pop out with 2.376 blah 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 blah, right? So how many cans would you have to purchase? No one's going to sell you 2.3, but you need 2.3. So you would always round up when you're purchasing something. So that would be 3 cans. All right, and then all you have to do is answer these 2 questions. So how much square feet? And they said to round to the nearest tenth. So take that number, round to the nearest tenth. And then how many cans would you need? There's the answer right there. All right, sweet. Let's keep going. All right, so for page 26, it's pretty simple. What shapes do you see here? You can click on those. And then right here, when you spin that around, what shapes do you make? So here are some examples of that. When you spin that around, now notice that when you spin things around, your only choices are basically a cone, a sphere, and a cylinder, right? So when you spin stuff around, those are your only choices because the bases will all have to be circles or great circles, right? So when you spin that around, what shapes do you make? And then this one right here is when you make a vertical slice, you dip it in paint. What shape? Which one of these would make the shape of a triangle? All right, let's keep going. All right, page 27. So we're going a little over, but that's okay. If you want to stop, that's fine. But I kind of just want to finish all these worksheets so I can get 100%. So let's keep going. All right, so population density and density. So pretty simple. If you look at your Hot Topics pages, so on density breaks your heart. So on Unit 9, density breaks your heart, right? So basically, density equals you make a heart, and then you make a line through it. So that's mass over volume. That's a way to remember that. And population density from Unit 8, that's pretty self-explanatory. Population density, that's population over the area. So population density, that equals the population over the area. Okay, and let's go and just solve these. So the basic gist on all of these is write down the equation, plug in what you know, and cross product. That's it. So a sample of an unknown solid is found to have a volume of this and a mass of this. And they want to know the density. So density breaks your heart, right? So D equals mass over volume. So all you have to do now is plug the stuff in, right? They gave you the mass. So they want the density, so let's leave D. The mass is 217, and the volume was 24.3. So this one was just, boom, you just divide it, no big deal. And then, so that's your job to finish that off. Density of a carbon carbonate is this. So they said that the density is this. Calculate the volume. So what are they looking for? They're looking for the volume. So this is not volume. They're looking for the volume. So what's left then? So if they gave you the density and you're looking for the volume, what are you left with? So dmv, right? So if the density is 1.59 and you're looking for the volume, so that's a question mark, right? Then this would, what's left over with this sucker would have to be the mass. So 26400. Okay, so all you have to do now is plug it in. D equals m over v. So 1.59 is equal to the mass 26400 over v, and you cross product. Now, you put this over 1, and now you can cross product. Now, how do you cross product on this? So let's say, I'm just making that stuff up here. Let's say you had 10 is equal to x over 3. You would put this over 1 and then cross product. So the equal sign stays in the middle. These two go together, so that's 3 times 10. And these two go together, that's 1 times x. So that'd be 30 equals x, right? So that's pretty simple. So that's a good example on that one. Let me give you another example here. If you had, let's see, 7 equals 5 over x. All right, so how do you do this one? So 7, so you put it over 1, cross product. So equal sign stays in the middle. These two go together, so that's 7 times x. And these two go together, which is 5 times 1. So that's 7x equals 5. And now how do you get x by itself? You divide both sides by 7. So x equals 5 over 7. And if you had to round, you round. But these are two examples on how to cross product. The other thing that could happen is it was just straight up like, oh, you just divide the two numbers, you're done. So I'm just giving you little examples about those. So it's your job on number 2 to finish that. So I went ahead and set you up. Now you just have to cross product and round to whatever they ask for, right? Okay, number 3, the density. So always write DMV first. That would be really helpful. Plug in what you know. The density is this. Awesome. So 10.5. The sphere, the radius. Okay, that's some extra information, right? They gave us radius is 6.13. What is the mass? So I'm looking for this. Okay, so the first thing that we have a problem with is we need to have volume before we can solve this, right? But they gave us this extra information where the radius is this. So use this to find that missing volume. And they said that this sucker is sphere. So volume is 4 over 3 pi r cubed. So all you have to do is plug this in, find the volume, and you can write it right here. Once you get that, now you can plug it into d equals m over v and solve. So I gave you a good start on that one. Okay, over here. Number 4. Okay, so we have these dimensions, and this is the mass, and determine the highest density. Okay, so for each one of these, I can easily find the volume. So find the volume of each one of these. So it's a cylinder. So that, for volume for a cylinder, you would use for volume of cylinder, you would use pi r squared times the h. So go find all these volumes. For a cube, that's 5 times 5 times 5. For a sphere, that's 4 over 3 pi r cubed. Rectangular prism, that's length times width times height, right? So all you have to do is find those volumes. Then for the density, that's mass over volume. So all you have to do is do mass divided by volume, and you'll get this, and then you can actually answer that question. So once you get that, you find all those, and you have a bunch of space to do the work. Then you just tell me which one had the best density, right? Which one had the highest density? So which one of these numbers is the biggest? And there's your answer. All right, number 5. Okay, the density of the seawater is this, so that's density. Tropical tank has this, so that's length, width, and height. What is the mass of the tank? So DMV, right? So DMV. If D is 50.8, and I'm sorry, that's the wrong number. It's 0.01027. All right, so that is the density. And the volume, I can find the volume. That's really easy. So volume is length times width times height. So just take those other numbers. So 50.8 times 30.5 times 30.5. And I get this number, 47256.7. So all I did was take the length, the width, the height, and multiply all those together. And then what's the mass? So all I have to do is D equals M over V. Plug that in, solve for the mass, and you should be good to go. All right. And you just keep rinsing and repeating on this, right? Okay, so in this one, population, so population density would equal the population divided by the area. So that's really easy, just population divided by area in this case. So you just plug these things in and solve for your missing parts. So which would actually be easy because you're just dividing, but sometimes you're going to have to cross product when you're solving stuff. And they said to put this in order. All right, number 7. All right, so on number 7, yeah, you just keep rinsing and repeating this, right? So, okay, so the, we have the area is 2121. We have density is 0.1428. How many people can you do in there? So, so population density is pop over area. All right, so if the population density is that number, the pop we're looking for, divided by the area, 2121. All you have to do is put this over 1 and cross products, and you should be able to solve that. Okay, and then this one. Okay, the roof of a small home in Miami is 1087 square feet. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just writing stuff down. Clay tiles require you to cover it with 6,522 pounds. So 6,522 pounds. No idea what's going on, just writing stuff. How many pounds does a square foot of clay weigh? All right, so they want pounds and per square foot, right? So let's just write that down. So pounds per square foot. Well, guess what? That's just division. You just take that, divide by that, and there's your answer. And you should be able to answer that. All right, so we went a little over, no big deal. Other than that, have a great and wonderful day.